What's up, students? Welcome back to another Star Tutors live stream. Just going through some SAT and ACT reading strategies today. If you guys haven't been with us before, I'm Chase with Star Tutors. Hopefully you guys got the Star Tutors part already, given that you're on the channel. If you guys are watching this live, can you give me a thumbs up? Let me know that you're here and ready to go. If you're watching the recorded version of this, you can always comment in the comment section below the video. One of our teachers or tutors will be sure to respond. Yeah, again today, guys, we're going to be going through the reading section. We're going to go through the SAT reading section just because that one at the time of filming right now is the one that's coming up more quickly. If we have time at the end, if we don't have to spend too much time on the SAT stuff, we'll go through the ACT as well. But I will say that all of the strategies that we talk about today will apply to both the SAT and the ACT. So again, if you guys are just joining us live, let me just get everything set up here. Just make sure we're ready to go. If you're joining us live, just give me a thumbs up in the chat or a thumbs up below the video if you want to stay somewhat anonymous. And again, we're going to go through the SAT reading section to start. And if we have time, we're going to go through the ACT. But all the strategies that we talk about with the SAT related to the SAT today will also apply to the ACT. So you're not going to miss anything. The strategies that we discuss are actually better applied to the SAT. Yeah, finish the reading section. That's going to be kind of the point today. So, Omar, if you're taking the ACT reading section, that's what we're going to be talking about primarily today. Is how to finish, and again, sorry, let me just get everything, make sure everything's ready to go. Yeah, basically how to finish this stuff, guys. It's there's a very, very clear way, right? And it's based on your knowledge or you knowing. The types of questions then I should say this, the number of difficult questions I think is there's a misperception on the number of difficult questions related to the SAT and the ACT. And so when we start today, the whole goal is going to be getting you to try to move on from the difficult questions. Okay, so trying to move on. I know that seems like, oh yeah, of course that's what we want to do, but it's a little bit more difficult than you might originally think it would be. Give me 1 sec, guys. Let me get one more thing. Always a good start to the live stream, right? When you guys just know that I'm peacing out for a second. Sorry about that. Yeah, sorry about that. But again, guys, so aside from me being completely out of it and making sure that everything's ready to go, what we're going to talk about today is trying to get you guys into a position where you can move on from difficult questions. Does that make sense? So again, this is going to be SAT and ACT live stream. We're going to use the SAT test number 10. So let me just post that in the chat. One of our teachers or tutors will post it. A tutoring coordinator will post it in the video description below. So if you want to follow along with today's video and just kind of the practice that we're doing, I'm sure some of you guys have seen SAT Test 10 before. That's not quite the point of what we're trying to get through today. So there's SAT Test 10. We'll also be using the SAT bubble sheet. And like I said, all of this stuff is going to apply directly to the ACT as well. So Omar, I know that we're going to try to get through the ACT at the end, but all the stuff that we talk about today with the SAT is directly related to the ACT as well. The reading sections, just so you guys know, for those that are taking these tests, the reading sections of the SAT and the ACT are largely similar, are very similar. There's certain question types, like those ones that ask you to go find evidence in the passage on the SAT that don't appear on the ACT. The SAT passages are at a higher reading level too than the ACT, but you get more time Overall, though, and thumbs up, guys. The sections, the SAT reading section and the ACT reading section, along with the SAT writing and language and the ACT English section, those 2 and 2 are all pretty comparable. And you see that in things like both have a double passage, right? Both the SAT has 1 additional passage, so there's 5 passages on the SAT. There's only 4 on the ACT. The passages are a little bit harder on the SAT, but you get more time. Overall, though, guys, thumbs up if you've seen this before, that the SAT and the ACT reading sections are all pretty comparable, and it's going to play well into what we're talking about today. So that's the SAT Test 10, SAT answer sheet, because that's going to be a big thing here. Okay, so don't worry, guys. Again, if you open those 2 documents on that I just posted in the folder, or just posted in the live chat rather, you guys will you'll be able to follow along, I think, pretty well here. But let's get going. Okay, so as we switch over here, guys, there are some very, 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 very important things, right? Lots of varies there. As we look at the reading section, it's my opinion, right? And this is from a consistency standpoint. So there's a number of different ways you can approach the reading section. But from a consistency standpoint, right? Consistency in accuracy and in timing. So consistency is not just for accuracy or timing, it's for both, right? So it's accuracy plus timing. And this is, again, for both the SAT and the ACT reading sections. This applies, right? For the purposes of this drill, what we're looking at today, SAT and ACT, and your timing. From a consistency standpoint, these things are going to be absolutely crucial. So once again, guys, thumbs up if that makes sense. Accuracy and timing. We're looking for consistency. Okay, I bet you didn't know this before, but did you know that only 10 out of 52 questions, roughly, right? Roughly, so let's just make it roughly 10 out of 52 of the SAT reading questions, and it's a comparable percentage on the ACT, are what you would call level 3 questions, right? So most difficult. Did you know that? Okay, thumbs up, guys, if you knew that before this. Right? There's only 10 of those. That guys, that equates to, on both of the tests, somewhere between 20 and 25%, right? Or let's even say 15, somewhere between 15 and 25% of the questions are these level 3 difficulty questions. Okay, thumbs up if you knew that. Thumbs up below the video if you knew that. 15 to 25% are level 3, right? It's 3 out of 3. There are 3 difficulty levels, right, to these questions. That is so key because it's amazing, after doing this for as long as I have, it's amazing to me how frequently we let those 10 questions, right, dictate the other 42, right? Or again, it's not perfectly 10 every time, but it's somewhere close. So 10 out of 52, and it's amazing how those 15 to 25% of questions dictate the other 70 to 70, whatever the number is, 85% of the questions. That is why the majority of students, when you don't finish a reading section, whether it be for the ACT or the SAT, right, or you start to feel like a little overwhelmed on either of the sections, it's easier to finish the SAT reading section just to be done with it, right, just to get through it because you do get a little bit more time per question per passage. But that doesn't mean that we're necessarily being as accurate as we need to be. It's amazing, again, how frequently we let these 15 to 25% of questions affect the other 85 to 75%, right? That's where we cannot let this happen. Can everybody give me a thumbs up if that makes sense? Right? Thumbs up or 2 thumbs up in the chat if you're following along live. 2 thumbs up or a thumbs up below the video if that all makes sense. Because that is absolutely critical. That is critical to understanding how we're going to approach this, okay? So again, thumbs up, guys, for those that are watching, because the key is to be able to move on from those questions. When we have, for those that haven't seen our just general reading strategy, right, the general reading strategy is this. Everybody wants to make up time on the passage, right? And Omar, you may have felt this before, right, in terms of like how do I finish the reading section? General reading strategies for both the SAT and the ACT. It's even more critical for the ACT. But the general reading strategy is the first and foremost, read every passage thoroughly. Okay? And as I write that, there's going to be many of you read every passage thoroughly that say, well, you can just skim it. You can. And there are students that do that well, And I can't tell you how infrequently we see students that can skim consistently. There are a few. Again, I don't want to dispute that. There are definitely a few students. But it's like 1 out of every 100 students can do that method really well every time. Reading every passage thoroughly is something that you do every day in school, right? For the most part, we're not supposed to skim passages in school, and generally we don't if it's a big test. I mean, right, if we want to do really well on a big test, we probably have to read the material. Okay, not always. Maybe some of you guys are thinking like, well, I can get through it, whatever. But generally speaking, I think that's the case, and that's something that you do all the time. The skimming method works, but it's very inconsistent. You might have one test where you get all the questions right, and then you have another test where you get 15 wrong. And that's what we're trying to avoid, right? Because this reading every passage thoroughly idea means that we can be very, very consistent all the way through. So that's the first step in everyone. These are all 3 steps. You'll notice that that's a trend for all of our strategies on these tests. It's always 3 steps, right, to try to keep it as simple as possible. And reading every passage thoroughly is very, very key. Step number 2 is the most important step of the 3, and it's the one it defines what we're going to talk about today. When you get to the questions after reading, right? Consider each question one at a time. Consider each question one at a time, right? Don't try to rush through it all. And start by looking, right? Start by looking for the 2, right? There's 4 answer choices. The 2 out of 4 obvious, right? And these are going to be obvious. I can't stress this enough that even on difficult SAT or ACT reading questions, the 2 answer choices that are definitely wrong are very obvious. Thumbs up if you know what I'm talking about. Right? Don't go into each question thinking, where's the right answer? If you go into every question thinking, where are the 2 incorrect answers, you will be shocked at how well you can, how consistent you can be on this section of the test. Start by looking for the 2 obvious incorrect answers. Right? Incorrect answers, which basically means start by eliminating. Start every question, question, right? Fila, welcome. Every question with thoughts. Welcome from Indonesia. That's awesome, guys. I always think it's so cool when we have students tuning in from everywhere. So welcome from Indonesia. Start every question with thoughts of, and this is huge, elimination. If you go into every question, the easy ones, obviously you'll know what it is. But if you go into every question with this thought, then who cares about the easy ones, right? You're probably getting those ones right anyway. And everybody always thinks that every question is going to be easy. That's not the case, but there are not that many hard questions. That's not me saying that. That's if you go back and look at the scoring on any SAT or ACT reading test. Roughly 20%, right? Let's call it 20% of questions are labeled as the most difficult. The other 80% are level 1 or 2 questions, which are less difficult. So if you go in with the thoughts of elimination, the how you carry yourself on the easy questions is likely not going to change, right? Thumbs up if that makes sense. It's probably not going to change. But on the difficult questions, this makes all the difference in the world. Omar, welcome from Egypt. Guys, again, I think it's so cool love to hear it. I think it's so cool when you guys are tuning in from all around the world, Egypt, Indonesia. That's awesome. So welcome in the live chat. If you guys are watching the recorded after this, recorded version, always feel free to comment. We love to hear from you, and obviously know that the coolest part about all this stuff is that you guys can watch from anywhere in the world, and we can broadcast from anywhere in the world. I still think that's such a unique thing about today's day and age, and so cool, the defining part of the internet. So let me just keep going here, though. Guys, this is the defining, so speaking of defining parts, this is the defining component of everybody who does well in the reading section, is this thought right here. Now, you might say, like, well, I have a friend that did well right off the bat. Well, okay, so students that start out doing well might be the case. But if you're struggling with the reading section, If you read every passage thoroughly, right, you're thoughtful about every passage, because if you do that, there's a lot less inconsistency. When you read every passage, you're like, oh, I at least generally know what's going on, right? I generally know what I'm not going to select like a horribly wrong answer, right? Because I don't, because I generally know what the passage was talking about. And then every time you look at every question, your first thought is elimination. If you find an easy one where you just know what the right answer is, great. Then you might not have to eliminate. But if you go in with that thought of, I'm going to eliminate on every question, it will help you so much on the hard questions. Because here's the deal. Once you're done, step two, right? Once you're done with two answer choices, this is the key to the whole strategy. Step three is to focus, right? Focus on the difference. Focus on the difference, right? Specifically in word choice, right? Word choice. Look for unique words, and I'll demonstrate this. Focus on the difference between the two remaining answer choices. We see, and I know that, again, I'll demonstrate what that means. That's going to be less important for the strategy today, answer choices. Because the strategy today is going to allow you to get so many questions right and then effectively potentially guess your way to the right answers on a lot of the remaining questions. On the, let's say, 20% of the remaining questions. I'll show you what I mean in a second. But does everybody know what I'm talking about in terms of focusing on the difference between the two remaining answer choices? Okay, so many times, and this may be you might be in this situation, you see the last two answers, and those, let's say you're a really good reader, but the 10 hardest questions are giving you trouble every time, and you get down to two answers, you know one of those two is right. You've been great about eliminating, but you just don't know which one is right between the two. That tells you one of two things. Either we have to be better about looking for the distinct words, right? Because there are differences between every answer choice. Let me give you an example. Yeah, right here, right? And I know that's not even that hard of a question. Yeah, guys, right here, right? And this is very key. So we might eliminate on question number 3, as an example, right? We might eliminate questions like, so sympathy, right? That's a very positive tone word. That's very different from the rest of these. So we might eliminate A, right? Because sympathy is either going to be the right answer or the wrong answer. I know it's not the right answer, right? Because I've seen this test before. This is test number 10 again. We posted that. Because, right, so it's not sympathy because there must be something negative about the tone. So that should be an obvious elimination. Sympathy is generally pretty positive. Disappointment because they doubt she will stay. Embarrassment because they imagine that she is superior to them. Yeah, so I don't think superior is right for numbers. This is number 3 again on test number 10. So we're going to go ahead and eliminate answer choice C. Right? Does everybody see that? But once we've eliminated down on this one, right, we have disappointment and resentment. Okay, you have disappointment and resentment. And let's say you don't know. Right? We don't know what the right answer is, and that's going to affect us for number 4 as well, because disappointment and resentment are both generally negative tone words, and if we don't know how to see, if we don't know what those mean, right, if we really don't understand what those mean, thumbs up, guys, is maybe you get it down where you only have B or C left. Anybody ever had this situation? You've correctly eliminated, you have B and D left, you've eliminated A and C, and you know B or D is the right answer, right? Anybody had that situation before? Anybody ever had that situation before? Thumbs up, guys, if you know it, right? Thumbs up if you know it. So number 3 and number 4, right, are these combo questions. But let me just show you how important it is. Let's say instead of worrying about that one question, right, and getting so overwhelmed with that one question, you instead decide, you know what, I'm going to move on. And this is the strategy right here. It takes a little bit of practice, so don't, right, it might feel a little overwhelming to start. But with the answers I have here, right, for this is SAT Test 10. I'm going to bubble in, right, what you would see for passage number 1. So this is SAT Test 10. And we posted both the bubble sheet, SAT Test 10, in the chat. So if you guys want to follow along with what I'm doing here, you definitely can. But does everybody see what I'm saying? So again, you have your bubble sheet, and the strategy looks like this. Okay, I'm going to bubble in the right answers. So we have A, right, answer choice A is the right answer for number 1. 2 is B. Okay, we didn't get to 3. We just knew, and this is what we're going to do. You're going to circle number 3, and you're going to lightly on your bubble sheet cross out A and C. Okay, that is the key. This is a very, very, very helpful technique as it relates to the reading section, because even if on the difficult questions, if you don't know what to do and you're not 100% sure, you're in that 50-50 boat, do not guess in that moment, right? Don't just say, well, I think it's B for just like kind of a random reason. No, instead, you're going to circle, right, number 3, and you're going to cross out A and C lightly on your bubble sheet. You're going to come back to it, and you're going to circle number 4 because that was the evidence question, right? And I would write this down, evidence question. These are the notes that you should be taking in terms of the strategy today, right? This is your eliminated question. You don't know because it's a hard question. You don't know what the difference is between B and D, and you can't figure it out. Once you've eliminated, guys, I always give students 30 seconds. I give yourself 30 seconds to decide, do I really know the difference between B and D, or is it just going to be a guess? Okay, thumbs up, guys, if that makes sense. Thumbs up if that makes sense. And a lot of you are probably saying, like, well, I don't want to mark off on my bubble sheet because what happens if I don't get back to it, right? And then I don't have any. Then they're going to mark it wrong or something, right? The strategy is that you're going to get back to these questions, right? You're moving on from these. And Omar, this is the same strategy on the ACT, right? So when you have your bubble sheet, there are 4 answer choices, and you're just going to lightly mark off, right, the answers to the 2 that you've eliminated on all the hard questions. On the easy ones, answer them, but commit to this idea of elimination. On number 4, because we couldn't get number 3 right, maybe we could get 4 right because we know it's B or D and we know generally where it shows up, but let's just say we don't know where this is going to appear in number 4. Okay, does that make sense? Let's see if there's one that was kind of an outlier for number 4. Everybody see what I'm saying here for 4? So if I open up SAT Test 10, maybe there was an outlier. Yeah, guys, so does everybody see that in Test 10, it looks like there's kind of an outlier here with answer choice A, maybe? I doubt. I know now that it's not going to show up in A, right? So maybe we eliminate A here because we've read through these other lines and we decide A is not where they're discussing number 3. Okay, so maybe on the bubble sheet, we decide, I don't know the correct answer. I can't figure it out even going back, right? So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to eliminate just answer choice A on my bubble sheet. Again, guys, this is so critical as you keep going, right? So now I've got A crossed off. All right, let's say the rest of that section goes really well. I get the rest of these questions right. So I have A here, 7, D, C, C, B, right? So D, C, C, B. Okay, so that's the start of my bubble sheet. Right, and I know that it's, in the past it's not been the questions that I know how to do that have given me trouble. Right, the easy questions I'm usually great at those, but I've just been stuck too long on questions that I'm still 50-50 on, even when I end up guessing. Your job is to understand that you are 50-50 on those questions. You're going to mark them off lightly on your bubble sheet after the elimination. Elimination is absolutely key as it comes to the reading section. You got to get good at looking for the 2 incorrect answers. And if you find an easy question where you end up knowing what the right answer is, fine. Just answer it correctly and move on. But if you start by looking for the 2 incorrect answers, you get in a situation like this. And I'll show you how big of a difference it makes towards the end of the test. Right? So let's say then we're looking at passage number 2 now. Okay, so passage number 2, coming back up. Okay? Does that make sense, guys? I cannot. Welcome back. Welcome for the free. If you guys have any questions, always, or if you're in the live chat, always say hello. Anybody that's joining new. Okay, but let's do this, right? So let's say on number 11, right? The main purpose of the passage. Let's say we don't know, right? We don't know what the main purpose of the passage is. But let's just say that it looks like here, right? Let's eliminate A and B, and let's just say that's how we answer number 11. We don't know. We don't know the difference. Discuss the negative environmental consequences. Argue that one way to reduce the negative environmental effects of traffic, right? Let's just say we get it down here, and the fact that it says negative environmental consequences, negative environmental effects, right? We don't know the difference. Okay, does that make sense? Everybody thumbs up. So let's just say number 11 is the only difficult question and we can't figure that one out. Talal, welcome, guy. Anybody that's logging on, if you're joining the live chat, welcome. We're going through the SAT and the ACT reading sections right now. Okay, so on your bubble sheet then, right, on number 11, we cross out A and we cross out B, and let's just say theoretically we get all the other questions right. Okay, because we're moving on from this. We don't know the difference between C and D. We're moving on. So we get, for 12 is A, B, C, A, B, C here, right? Guys, if you have an English section tomorrow, definitely we have videos on the channel. Just search English right on the Star Tutors YouTube channel. Just search English. We have a lot of great videos on that, so definitely check that out. A lot of basic grammar videos that are really good. So check that out, Talal. Okay, so 15, right? Then we have 16, 17, 18, 19 are C, D, C, B, C. And I know this is going to take a second. C, D. Yep, C, D, C, B. Okay, get through number 19. C, B for 19. 20 is B. Let's see if 20 is the last question here. Guys, again, I'm showing you hopefully how 20 and 21. So we have 20 and 21. So let's bubble those in. This is how you want your bubble sheet to be looking, right? Let's say you're a really good reader. Again, you're getting completely thrown off. So B and D for 20 and 21. And let's say you're really accurate on all of these other questions, B and D, right? Okay. Everybody good so far? Thumbs up, guys. For those that have been watching and are following along with the bubble sheet, everybody good? Okay, so these are difficult questions, right? We've eliminated down, but we don't know where that kind of final step is. Let's say on this next one, we have a few more questions, right? So it looks like based on the passage, let's say we're struggling, and I'm just picking these random, right? So let's say we can say propose a solution, right? Let's the sentence and lines here: propose a solution to dilemma, anticipated potential criticism. Let's say we eliminate C and we eliminate D for number 28 because we don't know those, but we know it's A and B. And then reasonably inferred, this is usually a difficult question. So reasonably inferred, precise nature, relationship. Let me just make sure, 28. Whoops, sorry guys, 28. Let's eliminate, I don't know what 28 was, but let's just eliminate B and C, right? We've eliminated down, and we don't know, let's eliminate, sorry. Let's eliminate A and C. Okay, so we're eliminating A and C on 28. So remember those. 29. Let's say we eliminate D and C on 29. Okay, everybody good, right? Those are reasonably inferred questions are typically difficult, right? And let's say we've eliminated all the way down. Okay, Talal, good luck on your English test tomorrow. That's great. Whoops. Everybody following along with what we're trying to accomplish here with this elimination technique. I'll stop after this passage, unless you guys want me to keep going and bubble in everything. But I can stop, I think, after the next passage. So 22, D, B, A, C, C. Right? D, B, A, C, C. Okay? And then 27 and 28. Whoops, 27 and 28. 27 was B. And then on 28, right, we eliminated answer choices A and C. So we're going to circle 28. We're circling all of the questions that we've skipped. And we're going to lightly cross out A and C. Okay, we're going to circle 29. We're going to lightly cross out C and D. Right, so everybody see that, right? Definitely read the whole passage. Yeah, so guys, if you want to go back and rewatch this video, yeah, definitely that's the step number 1 is to read the entire passage thoroughly, and then you can always go back or then when you get to the questions, it's to eliminate, right? Everybody thumbs up if that makes sense. Okay, so then number 30 is D, 31 is A. Okay, 30 is, so this is how this test form is going to actually look for you guys right when the test is over. Let's keep going, just so that you guys can see a full bubble sheet, because we'll post this bubble sheet too. Okay, but this is how your test. Anybody have any questions? Passage number 4 tends to be the most difficult passage for everybody. right? So just because it's a historical passage, it tends to be difficult. So let's just say on 4, there are 4 questions that we struggle with, right? We'll have one here. It can reasonably be inferred. So let's say 36 is one that we struggle with. And so we're going to eliminate B and C on 36, but we don't know between A and D, right? We're confused on that one. And then let's just say when we get to these comparison questions at the end, right, reasonably inferred on 41. Let's see. And let's say 40, we can eliminate C. C and D, we eliminate, on 40, we eliminate C and D. On 41, we eliminate A and B. And then we don't have anything to eliminate on 42 because if we didn't know 41, we don't know how to do that question. So thumbs up, guys, if that makes sense. Okay, thumbs up if that makes sense. So 40. Okay, so number 40, we eliminated C and D. Right, so we're lightly marking these on our bubble sheet, just lightly marking C and D. These are all the difficult questions. Right, on 41, we're lightly eliminating A and B. And then on 42, we don't know how to do that one, so we just have to leave it blank. And I think on 36, we said we were eliminating B and C, right? 36, yeah, let's just eliminate B and C on 36. Right, so that's a hard passage, right? For whatever reason, we just struggle with that one. That tends to be the hardest one. So on the other bubbles that we assume we get right, B, C, B, 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 C, B, B. This is a very, very, guys, just so you know, this is a very, very advanced test-taking technique. So if you're following along and this makes sense, you're in a very, very good position. Okay, it's great if it makes sense. How many of you guys are understanding what we're doing here? C, right? Then we get CAA. We're just eliminating. We're only taking 30 seconds because generally speaking, guys, it doesn't take that long. On the difficult questions, the reason this is so critical and so helpful, especially if you're looking to go, if you're trying to raise your score from like a, really good reading score to an unbelievable reading score, this can be so helpful, and you'll see this at the end, right? So we're just lightly marking these off. If we don't know a question at all, right, we're just circling it like we did on 42, and we're moving on from that question. And it's the reason for the timing is generally because on difficult questions, we struggle to move on from the final 2 answer choices. Thumbs up, guys, if you're just joining us. Thumbs up if that makes sense. Is everybody following along with this? Again, this is just an SAT bubble sheet looking at SAT test number 10. And the primary function, the primary goal of what we're trying to accomplish today is to show you guys how you can be better test takers, not how you can be better readers, not some crazy thing about individual passages. Okay, you're gonna read the questions first, guys. That's step number 1. Oh, sorry, you're gonna read the passage thoroughly. That's always step number 1 in terms of consistency. The more practice you have in doing that, the better you're gonna be. Okay, so always read the passage thoroughly, and then when you get to the question, step number 2 is to be looking to eliminate 2 incorrect answers first and foremost, right? Find the 2 incorrect answers. If it's an easy question and you just know what the right answer is, then go ahead and circle it. Don't eliminate. But if you go into every question thinking where are the 2 questions that don't make any sense, and if you've read the passage thoroughly and you're already doing well on reading, you should be able to do that. I don't think that's going to be like an overwhelming thing to do. Right? And then you're moving on. Does that make sense, guys? Okay, if you've eliminated those 2 answers and you're struggling, most of the time when students have timing trouble, it's because they get caught up in the final 2 answers of a question, just like what we're talking about now. And I'm trying to get you guys to realize that if after 30 seconds you're not seeing the right answer, you've eliminated down. And that's where elimination is key, because if you've eliminated 2 answers, you're pretty certain you have it very narrowed in terms of the question, the answer choices that you're still looking at, right? You're very narrow if you think about elimination first. And from there, if you can't figure out what the right answer is between the 2 remaining answer choices, let's say within 30 seconds, you just mark it off on your bubble sheet, you circle it on your bubble sheet, you lightly mark off the 2 that you eliminated on the actual bubbles, and you move on. And it's going to make a huge difference at the end of the test, and you're going to see that. Okay, so let's say we're going to keep moving here. So 43, we're on the last passage. 43 looks pretty easy. 44 is not too bad. 47 looks pretty hard, so 47 looks pretty difficult. Okay, so let's just say 47. We get it down higher than the percentage that Hartman had predicted. Let's say we eliminate down to C and D on 47. We know that those two are incorrect. And then we can't answer 48 because it's right, because it applies to 47. And then everything else we get right. Okay, does that make sense, guys? Everything else we get right. So let's say on 47, just so I don't forget, 47, we're going to eliminate C and D. And I'm just, guys, again, most of this is just random in terms of how I'm looking for the harder question types. If you're confused about what's a hard question on the SAT, we do have videos on the SAT reading question and ACT reading question types as well. But everything looks like this. So 43 is A, B, D, C. Okay, A, B, D, C, right? And on 49, C, A, C, D. C, A, C, D. Okay, and so look, guys, look how many questions we have circled. I said there's about 10 difficult questions, right? 10 that will give you, that could potentially give you trouble. Look how many we have circled. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So does everybody see that on my bubble sheet, every other answer that's not marked in blue, and maybe it was a bit of a better idea to mark these in red, just so you guys could see it more effectively. But let me do this. Okay, so everything that's going to be marked. Oops, sorry guys. Okay, so I'm going to do all of our other colors, right? Mark A and C off here. I'm going to do these ones in, let's say, green, so you guys don't get confused. Okay, so I eliminate 3. I eliminated A. Whoops. Okay, I'm circling number 3 here. I had eliminated A and C. On number 4, I had just eliminated A, so you guys can see that. Right, on number 11 here, let's do the same thing and make it in green. We eliminated A and B. Right, so let's eliminate A and B, but just do it in green. Okay, so we're going to eliminate A and B. Everybody following along? Anybody have any questions? For those that are watching, let's see, tell all, what if you read the passage, you don't understand? Yeah, so guys, if you don't understand the passage, that's another thing, right, that we have to kind of talk about. But if you don't understand, the idea is that in terms of consistency, you're going to understand the passage, right? Because if you don't understand it while reading it, you know, the skimming thing is going to be even more difficult to do. If you can't understand it while you're reading, right, it's going to be even more difficult to do. Does that make sense? So again, as we go through this, I'm just changing these colors. For the ones that we eliminated, I'm changing the color to green so that you guys can better see it. Okay, and then we had a couple here, C and D, A and B, and then nothing on 40. Okay, so just so you guys aren't confused, C and D here, A and B here, and then nothing on 42. And then finally, we have a few more questions left. Sorry guys, it's taking a second, but I just want you to be able to see it better. Okay, so we have C and D, and nothing on 48. Everybody see that? Everybody good to go with that? Thumbs up, guys. If you're watching live, thumbs up if that makes sense. Okay. Now my dog needed in. Going all over the place. So everybody see that. So guys, the thing about all of this, right, and everybody's like, well, what happens if I don't eliminate, right? What happens if I'm not in this position? Well, the idea is that you're moving on from the 11 hardest questions so that you are in this position. Now, does this take some practice? Yes. Is this an advanced test-taking technique? Yes. But on a multiple choice test, this could actually earn you 40 points for doing less work and finishing the entire thing. And the same is true of the ACT as well. Because what you've done is rather than spend 2 minutes on all of these difficult questions, right, you've spent 30 seconds and you've gotten some very, very important data. And at the end of the test, this is right, you spent 30 seconds on the hard questions, and at the end of the test, this is what your bubble sheet looks like. And I'll guarantee that if you get good at this, and you get 41 out of 52. Right now, guys, our breakdown is we have 41 questions out of 52 questions correct, right? And we have 11 out of 52 questions where we have either skipped entirely, where there was evidence-based questions because we didn't know how to do it, right? But those were time that we gained back by realizing that those were evidence-based questions on the real test, those ones that we had to just completely skip because the one before we didn't know how to do. 11 out of 52, we either skipped entirely or we eliminated, right? I want you guys to know that if those are difficult questions, all 11 of those questions, you've probably, right, you get, what, like 13 minutes per passage, so you've probably put back 13 minutes of time. By skipping those 11 questions, I'll bet you've added 13 minutes of time. Thumbs up if that makes sense. So that's the idea, right? Is you are focusing on elimination. Step number 2 from the beginning of the video is absolutely critical on the SAT and ACT reading test. And then you are just getting really, really good. And this is not very hard to do, right? It's just about committing to circling answer choices on your bubble sheet and moving on from difficult questions after you've eliminated. It's not that hard to eliminate 2 answers on the SAT or the ACT. The difficulty on the difficult questions is the difference between the final 2 answer choices, not the 2 that you should eliminate. If you've read and understood each of the passages, right, you've read thoroughly, you just generally understand what the passage is talking about, the tone alone, but just the tone of the passage will allow you to eliminate 2 answer choices that do not reflect that tone. For example, if answer choices use positive words, like I saw the word sympathy in number 3, if the whole passage was negative and they use the word sympathy, in all likelihood, it's not going to be the right answer because that's a positive tone word generally. Does that make sense? And that's why it's not very difficult to eliminate the 2, but I'm agreeing with you in the fact that the other 2 answer choices, the remaining 2 on hard questions, particularly on the SAT reading section, you could just sit there for 2.5 minutes and really struggle to get those ones down. So, right, thumbs up, guys. If anybody that's just joining the live stream has any questions, let us know. Okay, if you're watching the recorded video of this, to this point in the video, pause and ask any questions below the video because it's very critical that you do that you know that you're paused here and you understand what's going on. So this is a great time for anybody that's watching the recording to pause now and ask those questions of our teachers and tutors below. But here's the beauty of the whole strategy, okay, and I'll change this one more time. If you do this effectively, what you are going to find, right, is that you have certain answer choices that have been eliminated less, right? You have certain answer choices that less than the others. So, for example, here, it looks like A has been eliminated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So A is 5, and you have 13 minutes. So if you're worried, right, how many times has A been eliminated on your 11 questions? Eliminated, A was 5 times. Does everybody see that? And everyone's always like, well, how am I going to have time for that? Again, you've moved on from the hardest questions on the test so that you do have time for this, right? You've gotten 41 questions right, which, by the way, with all that extra time, to get 41 questions right is already a great score. Okay? It's already a great score. Talal, if you read and don't understand the passage, that's more about the comprehension aspect, right? That's kind of that's worthy of another video. Basically what we want you to do is that you want to take as much time as that you need to. Don't worry about timing. If you don't understand it, you want to sit there and really read through it and make sure that you do understand it. We have other videos on the channel, but the key is to take as much time as you need to read so that you really do understand it, so that the questions are very consistent, so that you don't worry about the questions when you get there. That's kind of the general. So it looks like A, though, has 5. B, right, as I look through this, it looks like B has 1, 2, 3, 4. So I think B has 4. C, it looks like has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So C has 6 eliminations, and D has 1, 2, 3. Okay, so perfect, right, guys? So does everybody see this? As I just went back and I reviewed my answers that I had eliminated. Does everybody see that? So D was only eliminated 3 times, right? And I'm saying that D's only eliminated 3 times. That means that I'm going to select answer choice D on any question where I haven't eliminated D. Obviously, when you eliminate it, right, don't choose D then. But on every question where I haven't eliminated D, right, I'm going to go here and I'm going to fill in D. Okay, am I going to get all of these right? No. But I'll guarantee I get a lot of them right. So, right, does everybody see what I'm doing here? I'm filling in D on any question where D is not eliminated because it was my least eliminated answer choice. I'm going to fill in D. Thumbs up, guys, if this all makes sense, right? On the ones where you don't, right, where D is not an option because you've eliminated it, don't go against yourself, right? Don't second guess yourself. Thumbs up if that makes sense. Okay, so now it looks like the only questions I have remaining, right, are just these guys, right? So I have 47. Oh, and I have D here. Sorry, I'm going to fill in D right here. Okay, so it looks like I have 47, 48. Nope, not 48. Sorry. It looks like I have 47, 40. Right, that D was already eliminated, so I couldn't select it. 29 and 42. Okay. So what you'll notice here is that lo and behold, the second most unused answer choice I think was B. Right, was 4. And I have B available, I think, on all of these. So now I'm going to fill in B for all of the remaining answers because B was my second least eliminated. I promise you guys that if you use this strategy, it will work on every test. I'm going to fill in B on every one of those questions. What this is doing is it's allowing you to get to a point where you have a 50-50 shot. Does everybody see that if I have 11 questions, right, 11 out of 52, where I have skipped those, but I've eliminated them for the most part, right? I've eliminated on all of those with the exception of a few. I'm going to get 5 out of those 11 right by just guessing, right? Because it's a 50-50 chance. It's a coin flip, and I know on some of them I didn't have anything eliminated, so that's why it's 5 instead of 6 out of 11. But does everybody see by just basic statistics, by focusing on elimination all the way through the reading test, and by moving on from difficult questions, you are going to get 5 of those additional questions right. So at worst, even if you were to randomly guess, you'd be at 46 out of 52 just by eliminating, right, and moving on and convincing yourself to move on from those difficult questions. That's unbelievable, right? That's just right off the bat. That's unreal that you could get 5 additional questions right, but that's just basic statistics. That's not any additional strategy. That should be your priority no matter what, because that's not advanced test taking. That's convincing yourself that you're going to find the hard questions. You're not going to worry about those. You're not going to over stress about those. You're not going to add more time. You're not going to take too much time on those. You're going to move on after thinking about elimination. You're moving on from those, right? If it's 50-50, don't immediately bubble in an answer choice. Use this bubbling technique, okay? Use the bubbling technique. Now, lo and behold, right, on all of the remaining answers, I either have D or B bubbled in because those were the 2 answer choices where I had them. I'm going to start with D. On all the questions where D is still available, I'm bubbling in D because that's the least used answer choice. And on any question where I had already eliminated D, I'm going to go with my next least used answer choice, eliminated, right? Next least eliminated answer choice, B. And I'm going to bubble in B on all the rest of the questions. Everybody see that? Everybody good? And lo and behold, let me show you what we get. We're going to get statistically, we should get 5 out of 11 no matter what. But question number 3, okay, so question 3 was D. So I got that one right. 3 was D. 4 was B, ironically enough. 4 was B, so that one's wrong. 11 was D. This is a statistical certainty, guys, with multiple choice tests if you're able to eliminate it and you focus on that. So 11 was D. Now I'm 2 for 3 so far in my guessing. 28 was, and this was just random, right? 28, amazingly, 28 was D. That's right. Now I'm 3 for 4. And that was just me picking random questions, right? Like, oh, this one looks hard, so I'm gonna select it. 29 was A, so 29 is wrong. 29 was wrong. 29 was A. So now I'm 3 for 5. 36 was D, right? 36 was D. That's now I'm 4 for 6. 40 was B. 40 was B. That was right because I had eliminated D, C, and D. and I went with so don't choose D, right? Trust your gut. So 40 was B, 41 was D, 41 was D. Okay. Again, you're statistically, if you don't believe this, right, just look at the basic stats. You're going to get 5 out of 11, right? Just by, if you've eliminated on roughly 50% of the, you're 50-50 on most of the questions remaining, you're going to get 5 out of 11, right? So that's basics. And then 42 was A, so that was incorrect. So I missed 42. 47 was A, so missed 47 because we had selected B. 47 was A. And 48 was B. 48 was B. Okay? So how many did we get right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Did we get 6 or 7? Did we only get 6 right? Oh, man, I thought that was going to be better. We were on pace for a huge number there, guys. 42 was A. 47 was A. 48 was B. Yeah, so we ended up getting 6 right. So, guys, again, statistically speaking, I thought we were going to get more than that because we started off so strong. But, it is the base. It reverts to the mean. By focus, most importantly, though, by eliminating answer choices, right, and moving on from those, you guarantee that you finish the test. And on this particular test form, had we done this, right, we only had to get 41 questions right. We eliminated 41 correct, right? 11 skipped with elimination, right? 11 skipped with thoughts of elimination. And of those 11 that we skipped, we used that guessing technique, right? Looking back, we ended up getting 6 additional questions right. And that score would have been 47 out of 52 while skipping all of the difficult questions, only looking to eliminate all of the difficult questions by skipping 11 of those questions. Does everybody see that? And I thought it was going to be, we were on pace for better than that. I thought it was going to be more like 8 or 9 questions, but again, we missed those last 3. So it is what it is. We're still above the statistical average. We got 6 out of the last 11 right, and we didn't have to stress or worry about any of the difficult questions, right? We weren't stressed or worried about those. Thus, we were able to finish the test, and we still ended up getting 47 out of 52. What's amazing, guys, is that when you worry about those statistically difficult questions, the ones that are labeled level 3, you probably, right, because those are just really hard questions. If you're already getting 50 out of 52, then you don't really need this technique. But if you're getting 41 out of 52, right, and you want to get better, you want to try to implement this to the idea that, hey, I'm going to move on from those difficult questions. And the same thing works. It works in some ways even better on the ACT because the ACT is so time sensitive. The questions are easier, right? But the ACT is so time sensitive that this really allows you to skip 10 questions or eliminate on 10 questions, right? And get to a point, though, where you know exactly, which questions you should be eliminating. Does that make sense? Thumbs up, guys, if that all makes sense in terms of how we're eliminating. That just allowed us to only answer 41 questions. We answered those with accuracy, right? With timing, with consistency, because we weren't focused on the hardest questions on the test, the 11 hardest questions. We made these strategic bubbles and eliminations on our bubble sheet. And by the end of it, we had a situation where we knew we had gotten 41 questions right, or we were confident on 41 easier questions. And we had 11 additional questions where we had to figure something out, right? Where we wanted to try to guess, to use our statistical advantage on a multiple choice test to see everything through. And by doing that, we end up with 47 out of 52, not 41 out of 52. By focusing on elimination first and foremost and not stressing after, again, give yourself 20 or 30 seconds, but don't stress from there. Once you're to that point, once you're done, right? Once you're done with the 20 or 30 seconds after you've eliminated 2 answers, just move on and try to use this guessing technique or rather this bubbling technique on your actual bubble sheet. Now, again, you have 13 minutes, right? You have 13 minutes when you come back. If you've skipped 11 questions and they're the 11 hardest questions, I'll bet you still have 13 minutes on the clock to use this bubbling technique, right? And then if anybody's worried at the end, like, well, how do I know I'm going to be able to, erase my marks? Well, again, you have 13 minutes. So the idea is that you're going to erase them by doing just that, right? And now we have our answers, and your bubble sheet will look just like a normal bubble sheet, right? I'm just going to erase all of these at the end of the test. With a minute to go, I'll just erase all of my marks, and all of a sudden my bubble sheet just looks very normal. Nobody is the wiser, right, of me using this technique. Not that the technique is illegal in any way, but you do want to make sure that you've erased those marks, because a stray mark the Scantron, the computer, right, the thing that grades it, might read it incorrectly. So you do want to make sure that you get rid of your stray marks. But this is, of course, 100% legal. You just want to, for your own sake, want to make sure that your marks are eliminated. But use the bubble sheet, guys. Again, it's amazing to me how infrequently students use the bubble sheet to their statistical advantage, and that's what a multiple choice test gives you, right? So now all of my bubble sheet, I've just erased all of those stray marks, and now my bubble sheet, even though we're seeing these in red, would just look like 52 completed answers, and nobody knows the difference. Does anybody have any questions? Again, the idea of using this takes practice. Don't think that you can just jump right into it. Does it take very long to practice it? No, absolutely not, right? This isn't a difficult thing to do, but it does take practice when you're stressed and the timing aspect is kicking in. And the idea of moving on from questions, not letting the 10 hardest questions, please don't forget that at the beginning of the video, we mentioned that there's only 20% of these questions are labeled level 3, right? Roughly 20%. So let's not let that 20% negatively affect our other 80%. And to Omar's great question at the very beginning, how do I improve on my ACT timing? This is how you do it. Everything we just talked about applies, very, very comparably to the ACT, because those two tests there are differences, of course, but they're very similar, right? Harder questions, harder passages on the SAT than the ACT, but you get more time. But a lot of the same similarities, right? A lot of the same stuff between those two tests. So you can implement all of these same techniques on the ACT in the exact same way. The whole goal of this is to not let the 20% of questions that are difficult, that they label difficult, affect the other 80%. If we've eliminated on those difficult questions, right, we're going to eliminate it on our bubble sheet. We're going to circle that question number on our bubble sheet. We're going to lightly mark off the two answers that we've eliminated. And after 20 seconds, if we can't figure out, if we still feel like we're 50-50 between those two answers, we are in no means going to guess at that moment, at that point. No, instead, we're going to move on with our eliminated answers on our bubble sheet, and at the very end of the test, we can always come back, and now we can use the statistics of a multiple choice bubbling in test to our advantage. And instead of getting 41 out of 52 by just randomly bubbling right, we're now all of a sudden at 47 out of 52, and this is a phenomenal way for those of you that are in that, somewhere between 35 and 45 range, and you want to improve beyond 45, really like 35 to 43 questions, if that's where you currently are. And 43 questions and fewer, right? Let's start with that. If you are answering 43 questions fewer than you are right now on the SAT, or less than 30 questions on the ACT, this can be so helpful. I cannot stress that enough, how helpful this can be, because it will allow you to move on from those stressful questions. And that's the key to the whole exam. Does that make sense, guys? Any questions overall? For those that are joining us live, anybody have any questions in the live chat? Anybody have any questions in the live chat on how we're going to do this? If anybody wants me to pull it up on the ACT, I can do that as well. And I can pull up an ACT bubble sheet just to show you what that looks like if you'd prefer. I think you get kind of the gist of it though, so I don't know if that's necessary. But let me know. Anybody have any questions related to this idea? And this, this technique, this way that we're bubbling. Guys, one of the other things about these videos that I'm trying to communicate that I want you to know is I want you to have advantages that are beyond just like some strategy advantage, right? Like if you practice enough, any strategy is going to work well. From a consistency standpoint, there are reasons why I think certain strategies work better than others. But what I'm trying to get you guys to see, or what I'm trying to help with, is this idea that there are other ways to improve your score that are mathematical certainties, right? Use this statistical advantage that a bubble sheet and a multiple choice test gives you. And that's really kind of the key to this whole video. Does that make sense? This whole stream is kind of based on, the hope that we see those statistical advantages. Thumbs up, guys. For anybody that's watching live, thumbs up in the chat. Like we always say, if anybody has any questions or concerns or just thoughts about any of this stuff, you can always post those below the video, always. and one of our teachers or tutors, or hopefully more importantly, the community of those that watch these videos, and there's a pretty big community at this point, which is great. Somebody's going to respond to those questions, and I'm sure that your questions are similar to somebody else. So we always appreciate the involvement and the participation in these live chats. All right. I'll give it another maybe like minute or so, and then I'll sign off for our daily live stream for the day. We'll cut up the video this whole full live stream and try to make it a little bit shorter, just for like the individual techniques. But again, using that statistical advantage with a multiple choice bubble sheet towards the end can be so helpful. So if anybody does have any of those questions, the kind of final questions about this technique and what you can be doing, let us know in the chat for those that are still watching live. And otherwise, we will sign off here in just a second. And like I said, we'll make sure that we cut up this original live stream a little bit more and make it a little bit easier for you guys to digest, as we do with most of these videos. So again, guys, maybe another 30 seconds. If you have any final questions, please let us know. Otherwise, we will sign off here in just a minute. All right, guys. So it looks like, hopefully everybody enjoyed the video. Thumbs up. Make sure that you guys subscribe. Make sure you join. If you guys have any questions about joining our membership program, which gives you even more premium content, this video will probably end up being a premium video after the first couple weeks or so. So if you want to keep watching these things and have this type of more advanced strategy, look at joining our membership program. You can click the join button below to join that. It's only $3 a month. It allows us. It supports the community. It allows us to make more videos like this one, so we really hope that more will join. And finally, guys, of all these techniques that we talk about, you can find them all on our tutoring app, Star U. So download Star U, access to the platform. It's the pinned comment in the live chat, and it can also be found below the video live stream. Otherwise, we hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm Chase from Star Tutors. For those that are joining us for the first time, we hope you have a great rest of your day. Good luck as you continue to practice. Good luck in school. And we know you guys are going to crush it if you keep working hard. So keep it up, guys. And we'll be on for another live stream. We'll probably be covering the October 2022 SAT reading section next. So look out for that, and we will see you guys soon. Thanks so much, guys.